Good morning, everybody. So I'm ready to confirm that if I were to add basically 0.03 amount of pulp in here, right, I should be able to get the same thickness as the rest of the cover. And I'm gonna use Abaca, right? And Abaca is probably okay for the cover, but for the interior may not be suitable, so I may have to change it and come up with a different mix for the interior. So for the interior, I might end up using something like this, which is, this is an old one, so I gotta get rid of it, but the color here matches more with the interior. And you can see that the interior also has the same triangular loss. Lucky for me, it's the same all over, right? So the chew was very even. If you impose this over this, you see perfect match between the two. And the amount, the only adjustment I have to make is the weight, the grammage of the wraps on the interior. And I'm assuming they are consistent between, so I may do the grammage on a couple of them, see if they are consistent. And if they're consistent, then same amount of pulp will go on all of them, right? So as far as getting rid of things like tight lines here and things like that, that's not really my main concern. My main concern is to see if I can use the amount of pulp calculated by the grammage to fill in this area, right? Give or take, right? So part of it is going to be filling in the appropriate amount here. After I do that, you can see like there is some loss here that is uneven. These have to be filled in, right? I did account for some of these by measuring slightly generously, right? But you still never know how much it's gonna take, right? Until you finish. So after you add your pulp, essentially, right, you gotta look at it and say, is there enough pulp in there? Did I cover this area? Did I cover that area, right? And then it may look kind of sparse at that point, but you really can't tell until it is fully dry. That's when you can fold it and measure it with a caliper, right? You can use a caliper to do these things. I'm gonna put water in here and let it sit for at least a few hours and then boil it. After I boil it, I'm gonna change the water, put it into the blender, and then process it. Go from there. All right, guys, see you in a bit. Now I'm making sure every little bit of pulp is out of here and into my jar, right? And if it isn't into my jar, I'm gonna be off in my math. Like here you can see a little bit of pulp left that I need to make sure it goes into the solution. All right, just make sure that all bits stuck on the blade, anything on the lid here is gone, right? Anything in the jar is gone. All of it is in solution now. Right now, look at how thick it is. You can't pipette this. So what can you do about Abaca when it is like this, or cotton linter? Formation aid. Okay, so we have the pulp, and now I'm gonna make the formation aid. The way the formation aid is made is 0.15 grams in 100 mils of water. And then after you make it, it takes a while to dissolve, you're going to add between 5 and 10 mils to the pulp solution. Let it sit for about half an hour. Stir it occasionally, right? Just to make sure that the fibers are slippery from each other. Assess it. If you need to add more, you can add more. This is after I do the sizing. So if you do the sizing, do the sizing first and then the formation aid last. Formation aid should always be last, okay? So I might not do the sizing on this. I just gonna do the formation aid, right? 0.15 grams in 100 mils, dissolve it really well, then add it 5 ml at a quart initially and see how it looks, how it works. If it's you need more, you can add more, and then bring the volume up with water to 400 mils, because I have here 1.2 grams of abaca. So the total volume would have to be 400 mils. And use a beaker if you have a beaker. Beaker isn't going to be exact as far as amounts go, but graduated cylinders are probably the best to adjust volumes. All right. So the mucilage is definitely there, right? You can see it. And it's well dissolved, the best of my ability. In the future, I would have to do it. Their method takes less time actually in the blender than doing it by hand. But the mucilage is there definitely, so I'm gonna add 5 mils of this and see what we get. Actually, Dr. Paul sent me a nice gift here with I can also use this. I can use it for leaf casting. I can use it for volumes like that. I can add like 5 or 10 mils if I want with the large syringe. And this is thank you, Dr. Paul, for doing that. So you can see the mucilage is difficult to add with, but it's about 5 mils. It's like 4 mils here maybe, but let's try that, see how that works. Looking better, looking really good. Look at that. Fibers are definitely dispensed. So I'm gonna add maybe another tad. It didn't even take 5 mils, right? And I'm gonna bring the volume up to 400 milliliters with water and start with the process. That's it. This is after you let it sit. Look how smooth it is. Right? I mean, definitely pipetable. Look at that. Couldn't do it without formation aid. I would have really a hard time dispersing the fibers. And this can sit for a while before you can use it, but you have to use it within the 8 hours, otherwise it doesn't hold well. All right, so here I have Plexiglass Remet. I'm gonna wet the Remet with my solution of 5 ounces of saturated calcium hydroxide, and I bring the volume up to 25 full ounces in this bottle with water. So I'll go ahead and spray this. So I make sure my Remet first is nice and flat and saturated, right? Lay it down. Generous amount of the calcium hydroxide diluted solution. I didn't put this in a water bath at all. I'm just doing this quickly to show you what happens, right? So now after I do this, look at the wrinkling that occurs. That's natural to occur. Now I'm gonna place another piece of Remet on the top. Spray it. So let me get rid of some of the, straighten this out, get rid of some more water here, straighten the some yellowing is coming off already because of the calcium hydroxide rinsing out the acid and the dirt and all kind of things. And for leaf casting, we can use, for the small area, I'm going to use just a P1000. So to get 0.03 grams in here, we calculated 5 of these, so 5,000 microliters or 5 mils should go in here. And then after I put it in here, I'm going to rearrange the fibers a little bit so that the area is fully filled. A bit better. Alright, so I'm going to start with the leaf casting, but before I do that, I'm going to use the water mat underneath. So this will absorb excess water that and once this is flattened, it should stay flattened on the mat also, because the mat is pretty nice and sturdy. And all right, so let's go for adding the 5 milliliters to this area. See the mucilage here? So make sure it is nicely stirred and the right amount. 5 of these. So I'm going to put them in. Here's 1. Here's 2. 3. 4. 5. Oops, I'm not showing you the process here. You just pull it over. Okay. See, I need a new setup here so you guys can see it better. Okay. But this is the pulp, so while I talked and moved things, the mat absorbed some of that. So I'm gonna make sure it's homogeneous. And overlaps with the sides, so we get the hydrogen bonding. And overlap here, stick them here. This is too much fiber here, so you can move some of it over. So you can see what I'm doing here is just rearranging the fibers. All right. You won't be able to judge it until it's fully dry, right? That's when you can really judge it and measure it and make sure it fits with the general thickness of the wrap. The weight of the wrap afterwards may not be the same, because once you wash it, you wash off the dirt and you wash off the acid, and so that may go down or may go up slightly depending on. So we'll see how that works. but this looks pretty good. I think I'm pretty happy with it. All right, so we're gonna cover it. Remove the mat, back on the plexiglass. You don't need to roll it. Pat it a bit with paper towels, press it down like this. And it's gonna go into the press. This is about 2 hours in the press. Let's take a look. It's wet. Let me change paper towel. You can see it here. Sitting up very nicely. Look at it. Not too bad. So what I'm gonna do is change the paper towels, let it leave it in the press, and when it is it's almost semi-dry, what I'll do is I'll take the paper towels off, the remain off, and put it between two plexiglass sheets, and that smooth out the pulp. This is something I learned from Jerry the Jitterbug. He does that, right? He is very meticulous about his work. If you watch him, how he does the work, he takes careful steps ahead of the program. He doesn't tell you that, but you could see it in his thinking process, right? I mean, I think he does an excellent job giving you that smooth leaf cast that everybody envies him, right, with. And that's his secret, and I learned it from him. So this is now kind of wrinkly. To get it nice and smooth, all you have to do is put it between two sheets of plexiglass, essentially, towards the end of the drying process, and that smooths out the whole thing. All right, let's back into the press it goes.